Coach, you had a short chance to sit back and reflect. What were your biggest takeaways from this season?
I just told our players in there it felt like 4 or 5 seasons within one, with all the things that occurred. You talk about being proud of a group for staying the course no matter what was happening, the injuries, the ups and downs, the wins, the losses, but this group always stayed together and found a way. That was the biggest takeaway more than anything, is that the group stayed together despite the circumstances, and we found ways to, just one, get in to the play-in, to the playoffs despite the circumstances, but also not being satisfied with that as well.
What was the message to the team in the past 24 hours or so now that you've been back in Orlando?
Well, post-game is what we talked about. Proud of the group for what they've done despite the circumstances, fighting through adversity and staying the course and staying together. And now just coming back, it was some of the same sentiment. But it was also understanding what we need to be capable of as we move forward, how we have to approach this summer, the work that we need to put in, because, in some ways it's a blessing that you just got done playing the champions, because you were on the court with the NBA champions of last year, and you understand what they did, how they played, what was different, what you need to do. You got to see that real time. And so your ability to know how you have to work this summer, how you have to approach this summer, the things that you need to do, how you have to focus your mind, your body, and your spirit to get right, to come back and play the style of basketball that we need to get to that level.
Jeff just mentioned that he feels it's time for this organization to move into a win-now mode. Obviously, as a coach, you're always trying to win. Mm-hmm. But what, from your perspective, does that look like for this organization this summer?
It looks like a lot of different things. One stands out is just the fact, like what I just said, is how do we work this summer individually as each person, what they have to do to get better. That could be whether that's how you work on your shot, how you work on reading defenses, how you work on your conditioning. All those small pieces are taking you to championship level. And I do believe it is a win now such a scenario for these guys, and understand exactly what we need to do. We're not chasing mediocre. Not. You're chasing something bigger. And that's why I said it was great that you were able to play against the Boston Celtics, who just won a championship, so you can feel and understand what that's like in real time, so you know how you have to prepare your mind and your body to get to that next level.
You mentioned it felt like you guys played 4 or 5 different seasons. It's obviously still just one season,
mm-hmm.
But how did you kind of keep the guys together? There are a lot of ups and downs, a lot more adversity this year on the court as much as off the court. How did you keep these guys together to still make the playoffs and still have a chance in the postseason?
You talk about having an unbelievable staff. I think our staff did a tremendous job of keeping the main thing, spending time with these guys individually, finding different ways to do things together that kept the joy in the building, the focus in the building, knowing that, we had guys down, but we never looked at that as a issue. We looked at it as an opportunity. And our staff did a phenomenal job of that on a daily basis to keep this group together and tied in.
You mentioned the staff, and you praised them a lot throughout the year, but do you feel like you need an outsider's perspective to help improve the offense at all?
I think we're gonna leave no stone unturned when it comes to try to find ways to continue to get better, not just as players, but as coaches as well. I welcome any version of trying to get better myself, as well as the staff, to find ways that we can help these guys and put them in the best position to be successful.
I'd like to say goodbye to the group, knowing that you are entering this win-now mode, going in that this group in particular probably won't look the same next year.
Well, it's every NBA season. I don't think not one team has brought every single person back. And I think that's just always part of what the league is. And you may not have them in the locker room with you per se, but these guys have created a brotherhood and a bond that's going to be longer than just them on the court. It's never easy at the end of a season, no matter how you end the season, to know that locker room is going to look different.
Can you talk about the development of Allen and Franz this season, particularly their playmaking?
I think they've done a tremendous job of getting better in all aspects. Their ability to push each other, make their teammates better, Again, the defenses that they were seeing all year, a crowded paint, a tight paint, and they were still found ways to, one, get to the free throw line. They were still found ways to create open shots for their teammates. I think their ability to see that and know that is something that, you want to have them do moving forward, but also just that they grew so much in that area, and they started to understand and see the way they were being played.
What did you learn about the way the offense can work when you have someone like Corey Joseph, a point guard like him, running it?
I mean, he stabilized things. He settled things down. There was a poise about him. That comes with experience as well. I mean, him being on championship teams, winning big, and there's a poise to him. There's an experience to him to be able to get guys settled in, and it's his ability to not think about anything else than his teammates and putting them in the best position to be successful.
We talked about it.
Jamal, how much emphasis do you think needs to be placed on shooting this summer, internal improvement and potentially external improvement?
I think you talk about the numbers of what our shooting was, and wasn't expected to be that, but that was the reality of where we are. I think it comes down to what we're doing this summer and how we work, and it's not just what we bring in; it's also the guys in here improving and getting better at their craft. And so we'll make it an emphasis, we'll make it a focus, and I think, but it's also how do we continue to get these guys better as we see the jump and improvement from each one of these guys? Can we take that next leap? Because they understand exactly how they have to work.
I'm sure this will be part of the kind of film study as you kind of do deep dive into the season. But on that shooting point, Contavious Caldwell-Pope comes in. He's got kind of the reputation as one of the best shooters. Why do you think he struggled so much to find his rhythm throughout the course of the season?
I think there's different environment. The style in which we play is different than in other places he's been. But again, he's somebody that is going to be resilient and continue to work and continue to find that being comfortable in the system now is something that we'll look forward to. And again, exactly what we know he's capable of doing, he will do that, moving forward.
Will you be assessing the coaching staff around you in the offseason? Should we expect any changes there?
As of right now, I'm just looking at what I can do to be better for these guys. I think I'll look at that, and that's down the line. I think for me, it's how do I continue to put these guys in the best position to be successful, the players as well as the coaching staff.
Jamal, you guys obviously have a defensive identity that you guys are steadfast to.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously knowing that you need to improve offensively, whether it's bringing in a player externally or through internal development, how confident are you that that defensive identity can still improve or maintain when adding offense?
I'm super confident. I'm super confident of that we can continue to defend and do what we do defensively as well as improve our offense.
There was kind of some comments from Jeff earlier about maybe needing to swap some defense for offense. Does that challenge excite you at all, maybe to?
Yes. I'm okay with that.
Jamal, I know your guys' goal isn't to just make the playoffs, it's to advance in the playoffs. Given the back-to-back years, it's ended in the first round. Is there any more pressure in this offseason to try to figure out how to get over that?
I don't think there's pressure. I think there's a willing and a want to from each individual within this organization to understand what we're capable of doing. And I think you guys asked me after we won Game 3 here if we were excited. And I plainly will say no, because you haven't done anything. And that's the same sentiment that I'll give to every single person standing in front of me right now. There is no excitement in getting to the playoffs. It sounds good. There's no excitement in getting bumped out in the first round. It sounds good. But what sounds better to me is your aspirations to win a championship. And that's what we're building, and that's what we're moving towards. It's not about we feel good about getting bumped in the first round because of the adversity that we hit. Those are all realities. Every NBA team feels those. But now how do you put your mindset into the focus of we're going to try to win a championship? And that's what we're about, however that looks each moment. And it may not happen next year, but we're building towards that versus the first round bump out and we got in.
Do you sense that the team feels that way too? That after making the playoffs last year, maybe feeling that joy of the first playoff experience, that now they understand or they feel that this isn't the end goal. This is the stepping stone to where we want to be.
You have to go through it. You have to go through that to understand exactly what you're capable of doing. And that's what I just told the guys. You were able to play against the defending champions. And so now you saw what they were capable of doing, how you played, what you were able to do, the margin of error. Now you understand what it takes. So You take Cleveland game 7, you get bumped out in 5 here. And so now you understand exactly what you need to do in the summertime to get your mind, your body right in order to take care of business moving forward.
Jamal, how concerned are you that with the way he plays, that Jalen will have difficulty remaining healthy because he is such a physical, tough defender?
I'm just more concerned about just, getting him back on the court. When he's healthy this summer, and him putting the work in the summer, we'll deal with that. I'd rather be able to say, slow down than speed up.
On that point, where are Jalen and Mo at in their recoveries, and do you expect them to be ready for next season?
I do expect them to be ready for next season. As of right now, I think they're progressing pretty good. Neither one of them is doing any contact work at this point, so it's hard to really assess that. But I do expect them to be ready to go.
Kind of mentioned I mentioned the injuries a lot, but with Jalen specifically, the fact that he was, in the lineup, and he had to take a few games to repair a knock. Powell and Franz were out, and had the back issue, came back one game. How much did the uncertainty of his return and the feeling that he was so close to returning, how much did that affect kind of the plans, or how you mapped out the end of the season, or how this team kind of responded, especially in that point after the All-Star break?
Well, that played a major factor. I think you guys even said it once we found out exactly what was going on, you said, now does that put some clarity to what was going on? And as us as coaches, we definitely deal with that. You're trying to figure out if a guy's going to play, not going to play. Is he going to be back in a week, not 2 weeks? You don't know. And that's part of what happens with these injuries. That you don't know what's going to happen in those scenarios. So you prepare and plan accordingly. But having the certainty of a guy in the lineup it's a lot better than not knowing.
With Paolo and Franz, they went through their first kind of major injuries, their first extended absences due to injury, because in their career, how do you think they handled kind of dealing with the frustration of that? And now looking back at the end of the season, how do you think they handled dealing with the frustration of that injury, kind of the process of recovery, and then ultimately coming out on the other end?
Well, I think every NBA player goes through it, and I think their ability to now have said they've done that and they understand exactly the process that it takes in order to get back from it. But it's adversity in an NBA career that they now have faced, so it's going to make them better in the long run for it.
Jamal, after Franz came back, it appeared that his shooting motion was altered a bit. What's going on there? Is he still dealing with an injury?
Franz is not dealing with any injury that I'm aware of. I think, he's not a person that I ever worry about from a work ethic standpoint, from mastering his craft. He's somebody that you can rely on night in and night out to be able to work and do the right thing by this team, and as well as preparing himself every night to be the best that he can be.
So do you think his shooting form changed, and do you think it needs work at all?
Like I said, I never ever concerned myself with how hard Franz works. That man puts more work in, and he's one of the most professional people that I've been around when it comes to mastering his craft.
Who do you feel like improved the most year over year on your roster? If you could give a most improved player award to your team.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. And in that response to that, I would say it varies from each guy, and it's what you're expecting from each person. And so everybody's going to be on a different scale. And so it's hard to say which one was the most improved, because the scale that Paolo was on is different than the scale that Tristan da Silva was on. I think those are different things that you have to look at. So I think each guy found a way to get better in whatever they were tasked to do. So it's hard to give a general statement of here was the most improved person.
How do you feel about Tristan's rookie year, and how do you see him progressing moving forward?
I thought Tristan did a great job of being able to step into whatever he was tasked to do. Early on, obviously, Franz being down, he comes in, steps in the starting lineup. Same thing with Paolo. I think he did a very good job of accepting whatever role he was given. He's been a pro for a long time. I mean, doing 4 years of school and knowing exactly what it takes to be a rookie and understand exactly what's being asked of you, he was willing to do that. So I think his improvement is only going to it's going to be big time for him this summer.